Where do I even begin? I never thought I'd be one of those guys who rants online about his failing marriage, but here I am. I just need to get this off my chest, maybe even get some advice because, honestly, I'm not sure how to deal with it all. First off, I'm Evan, 34M, and my wife is Laura, 31F. We've been married for 7 years, together for 10. From the outside looking in, everything is perfect. Laura was the perfect wife. Smart, funny, caring, gorgeous, basically everything a guy could want. We were that couple everyone said would make it. And I guess I believed that. No, scratch that, I knew that. But, lately, things have been off. Nothing obvious at first, just small things. Laura started ordering takeout more than usual, but she would always shrug it off saying she didn't feel like cooking. No big deal, right? She's allowed to take it easy. We both work, and some days are just exhausting. But then, there was this weird pattern I started noticing. The delivery guys. It was always the same ones. She'd order from places that were a bit further away when we had good spots closer, justifying it by saying the food was better. I didn't think much of it at the time, but I did start to get this unsettling feeling in the pit of my stomach. Then, there were times when she'd tell me not to come home for lunch because she wanted some alone time. Again, reasonable enough, right? Everyone needs space. But now, as I sit here and tell this story, I realize how blind I was. The little hints, the odd moments when she'd smile at her phone or seem a little too happy after a simple food delivery. I shrugged it off like an idiot because Laura was my wife. I trusted her with everything. Hell, I still do, at least, I think I do. I'm trying not to jump to conclusions because, let's be real, I have nothing solid yet. But something deep inside me feels like I'm on the edge of a cliff and it's only a matter of time before everything falls apart. Right now, it's just gut feelings. Maybe I'm overreacting, maybe not. But that's the thing about trust, right? You never realize how fragile it is until you start questioning it. After posting the first part, I felt a weird sense of relief, like maybe getting it all out there would somehow make things better. But here I am, and nothing's changed. In fact, it's only gotten worse. The more I think about it, the more things start to stand out. You know how they say hindsight is 20/20ths? Well, it feels like I've been blind for way too long. Take yesterday, for example. Laura ordered food again, some Thai place she loves. I got home just as the delivery guy was leaving, and Laura was in the kitchen, acting like everything was normal. But the guy, I swear, there was something weird about him. He looked nervous, almost like he didn't want to make eye contact with me. I thought maybe I was imagining things, but then I caught Laura quickly adjusting her clothes, like she'd just thrown them on. It was subtle, but I noticed it. I asked her how her day was, and she was all smiles, telling me about some show she watched and how she spent the afternoon relaxing. She was so casual. So normal. It made me feel stupid for even suspecting anything. But then, something else happened. Our security camera, yeah, we have one of those doorbell cameras, but I never really checked it. I decided to look at the footage just to see what time the guy had shown up. That's when I noticed something odd. The delivery guy wasn't just dropping off food. He came inside. Not for long, maybe 10 minutes, but enough to make me wonder. When I asked Laura about it, she didn't flinch. Said she invited him in because it was cold outside while she grabbed cash to tip him. Made sense, I guess, but why would she need to tip him if she always pays through the app? It was such a small detail, but it gnawed at me. I tried to brush it off, told myself I was being paranoid again. But here's the thing, this wasn't the first time. The same guy had come to the house a few times before, always for different places Laura ordered from. What are the chances of that? I don't know. Maybe I'm looking for problems where there aren't any. Maybe I'm turning into one of those obsessive guys who sees every shadow as a sign of betrayal. But my gut, it's telling me something isn't right. And now I can't stop thinking about it. So, I did something today I'm not proud of. I checked Laura's phone. I never thought I'd be that guy, the one snooping through his wife's stuff. But the doubts have been eating away at me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She was in the shower, and I had maybe 10 minutes tops. My hands were shaking as I unlocked her phone. She doesn't know that I know her passcode. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for, texts, photos, anything. But when I scrolled through her messages, there was nothing. No strange conversations, no late-night texts, no saved numbers that seemed out of place. Just the usual threads with her friends, her mom, and me. But here's the thing, she didn't have any messages with the delivery guys. None. And that's what made me pause. I know she always orders through the apps, so wouldn't there be at least some text history for confirming the orders, or tips, or delivery updates? But there was nothing. I checked her email too, again, nothing out of the ordinary. No weird confirmations, no suspicious activity. Everything was spotless. Too spotless. I didn't find anything, but instead of feeling relieved, I felt worse. I should be happy, right? I didn't catch her in a lie. But now it feels like maybe she's just better at hiding things than I thought. Because if there's nothing in her phone, then what the hell am I even suspicious of? The thing that's still bothering me is how casual she's been. Laura's always been good at handling pressure, but lately, she's seemed almost too relaxed. Like she's in control of the situation, and I'm just lost. I don't want to sound paranoid, but it's like she's playing a game, and I don't know the rules. Today, I asked her if she ever gets lonely being home so much, especially since I've been working late shifts at the office. She just laughed it off and said she loves having time to herself. She doesn't even flinch when I ask questions like that. It's as if nothing's wrong, but I can't help but feel like something is. Then there's the sex. Or, more accurately, the lack of it. We've always had a good sex life, but in the past few months, almost nothing. She blames it on stress or being tired, and I don't push because I don't want to come off as needy or demanding. But part of me wonders if she's just getting it somewhere else. God, even typing that feels like a punch in the gut. What if I'm completely wrong? What if I'm ruining my marriage over nothing? But that damn camera footage. I can't get it out of my head. The delivery guy walking into our house like he owns the place, the way Laura acted like it was no big deal. It's messing with me. I know I need to confront her, but I'm not ready. What if she denies it? What if she makes me feel like an idiot for even asking? What if she's telling the truth, and I'm just destroying my own peace for no reason? I feel stuck. How do you ask the person you love if they're betraying you? What if the answer is exactly what you're afraid of? I couldn't sleep last night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Laura smiling at me like she always does, but now it felt fake, like there was something behind it that I couldn't see. I tried to push it all away, tell myself I was being ridiculous, but my mind kept going back to that damn camera footage. And the way the delivery guy looked at me. I decided to check the camera history again. I don't know what I was hoping to find, but I needed answers. So I sat down with my laptop and started going through the past few weeks of footage. At first, nothing. Just the usual deliveries, same guy, same routine. But then I noticed something strange. There were a couple of times when he'd show up, Laura would invite him in, and then the camera would cut out. Just like that, no footage for a few minutes. Then it would come back on, showing him leaving like nothing had happened. I couldn't believe it. Why would the camera stop recording at those specific moments? It's not like Laura's a tech genius or anything, so how the hell was this happening? I checked the settings, thinking maybe there was a glitch, but everything was fine. The camera only seemed to stop when the guy was inside for longer than a few minutes. It felt deliberate. Like someone was trying to make sure there wasn't a record of what was going on inside. My heart was racing. I couldn't ignore this anymore, could I? But then again, I had no concrete proof. I had suspicions. I had gaps in footage. But nothing solid that I could confront her with. Nothing that screamed, she's cheating. I almost wanted to catch her, just so I could know for sure. I felt like I was losing my mind, going over every little detail in my head. The missed texts, the gaps in the camera, the way she acted so damn normal through it all. But then came the biggest hit. This morning, I got home from work early, and there was another food delivery at our door. I recognized the guy right away. It was the same one. My heart dropped into my stomach. This time, I didn't stay in the car or pretend I wasn't home. I walked up to the door and went inside, right behind Laura. She didn't see me at first, so I stood there, quietly watching. She invited him in. Like it was nothing. I felt my pulse pounding in my ears as they walked toward the kitchen. I followed them, trying to keep my cool, and when I walked into the kitchen, she was just talking to him. Laughing. Like this was some regular interaction between friends. I didn't know what to say. I just froze. When she saw me standing there, her face went pale for a second. But then, in a flash, she recovered. She smiled and said, "Oh, hey. I didn't know you were coming home early. I was just talking to James here about the last order he brought. There was a mix-up with the sauce." James, so that's his name. She said it so casually, like they were friends or something. The guy, for his part, just gave me a nod, mumbled something about having to go, and left quickly. Too quickly. I asked Laura what the hell that was about. Why she had invited him in again. And she, being the master liar she is, just shrugged and said, "I told you, I like to tip him in cash sometimes, and we were talking about the order." Relax, babe. You're being weird. I didn't know what to say. She was so calm. So sure of herself. Like nothing was wrong. But my gut was screaming at me that something was wrong. That something had been wrong for a long time. I didn't push it. I just nodded and went upstairs, but now I'm sitting here, writing this, and wondering what the hell I'm supposed to do next. I can't keep living like this, second-guessing everything she says, wondering if there's something going on that I don't know about. But I need proof. Something more than just a gut feeling or some sketchy camera footage. I'm not ready to confront her yet, not until I have something solid. It all fell apart today. I came home from work early, didn't even plan on it. I was feeling off, had this headache that wouldn't quit, and figured I'd take the afternoon off to rest. I wasn't thinking about Laura, or the delivery guy, or any of that. I just wanted to lie down for a bit. I pulled into the driveway and saw the delivery guy's car parked out front. My stomach dropped. It was him again. I felt that familiar rush of panic, but then I told myself maybe it really was just another delivery, like always. Maybe they were talking about some stupid order mistake or whatever excuse Laura had cooked up this time. But something deep down in my gut screamed at me to go inside. I opened the door quietly, almost hoping I'd hear them talking in the kitchen again. That would have been easy. I'd have my excuse to call her out, maybe tell her to stop letting random guys into our house. But no. The house was dead quiet. Too quiet. My heart was pounding as I walked toward the kitchen. That's when I heard it, a sound that shattered everything. It wasn't talking or laughing. It was her. Moaning. And not just any moan. It was the sound she used to make when we were first together, before everything fell apart, before the doubts and the lies. I stood there for a second, frozen, not wanting to believe what I was hearing. But the sounds were getting louder, more intense. And I knew. I knew what was happening. I pushed open the door to the kitchen, and there she was, Laura, completely naked, straddling the delivery guy. They didn't even notice me at first. They were too lost in each other, too wrapped up in whatever the hell they were doing to realize I was standing right there, watching my whole world fall apart. When they finally saw me, the look on Laura's face, I'll never forget it. She froze, eyes wide, mouth open in shock. She didn't move, didn't even try to cover herself at first. The guy, James, I guess, jumped up, scrambling to pull on his clothes, muttering some apology under his breath as he bolted out of the kitchen. But Laura, she just sat there, still naked, still in shock, like she didn't know what to do. For a few seconds, no one said anything. It felt like time stopped. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I was just there, watching the woman I loved sit there naked after being caught with another man. Finally, I found my voice. "What the fuck, Laura?" She stammered, "Evan, I can explain." "Explain? What the hell is there to explain? I just saw you, with him." My voice cracked. I could barely hold it together. She stood up, grabbing her clothes off the floor, trying to cover herself. "It's not what you think," she started, but I cut her off. "Not what I think? Are you serious? I just walked in on you, the delivery guy in our kitchen. How is that not what I think?" Her face crumpled, and she started crying. The tears that used to break my heart now just made me feel sick. It just happened, okay? It didn't mean anything. It was a mistake. A mistake. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This has been going on for weeks, maybe months, hasn't it? All those times you invited him in, all those lies, and now this. She didn't answer. She just stood there, crying, her hands shaking as she clutched her clothes to her chest. And that was the moment it hit me, she wasn't going to fight for us. She wasn't going to give me some grand explanation or beg for forgiveness. She'd been caught, and now, she was just waiting for me to decide what happened next. I couldn't look at her anymore. I turned around and left the house, slamming the door behind me. I drove for hours, not even sure where I was going, just trying to escape the image of Laura with him, the sound of her moaning echoing in my head. I still don't know what I'm going to do. Divorce seems obvious, right? But part of me still can't believe this is real. Part of me still wants to believe she's the woman I married, the woman I built my life with. But after what I saw today, I don't know if I can ever look at her the same way again. I feel broken. Completely shattered. I spent the night at a motel. I couldn't go home. Not after what I'd seen. I just sat there on the edge of the bed, staring at the ugly wallpaper, trying to make sense of what the hell happened. But no matter how hard I tried, nothing made sense. All I could think about was Laura's face when I walked in, the way she looked like a deer caught in headlights, her pathetic excuses echoing in my head. I didn't sleep. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them, Laura and James, in our kitchen, doing that. Around 6 a.m., I decided to go back. Not because I wanted to see her, but because I needed my stuff. I couldn't stay in that motel forever. So I drove home, hoping she wouldn't be there. I didn't want to face her, didn't want to hear more excuses or tears. I was done with all of that. When I pulled into the driveway, her car was gone. A wave of relief washed over me. At least I wouldn't have to deal with her right away. Inside, the house was eerily quiet. The kitchen, our kitchen, looked exactly the same as when I'd walked in on them. Dishes still on the counter, chairs slightly pulled out. But now, it felt like a crime scene, a place I could never see the same way again. I went upstairs, packed a bag with as much as I could fit, clothes, toiletries, my laptop. I didn't take everything because, honestly, I wasn't thinking clearly. I just needed to get out of there before she came back. While I was packing, I noticed her phone on the bed. My heart raced, and I don't know why, but I picked it up. Maybe I thought I'd find some kind of explanation, something that would make this all make sense. But what I found was even worse. She had a message open, and it was from James. It was short, but it said everything I needed to know. Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about it. Can't wait to see you again. My stomach turned, and I nearly threw the phone across the room. So this wasn't just some mistake. This wasn't some one-time thing she could cry her way out of. She had been lying to me for who knows how long, and she wasn't even sorry. She was planning to do it again. I put the phone down, grabbed my bag, and left. I didn't need to see any more. It was over. I spent the next few hours driving aimlessly, trying to figure out my next move. I called my best friend, Mark, and told him everything. He was shocked, of course, but also pissed on my behalf. He told me I could stay at his place for as long as I needed, and honestly, that's where I'm writing this now, from his guest room. I haven't spoken to Laura yet. She's texted me a few times, the usual crap, Evan, I'm so sorry. Please, we need to talk. But I can't bring myself to respond. What is there to say? She destroyed our marriage, and for what? Some delivery guy she barely knows. It's been a few days, and I'm still trying to process everything. Some moments I feel numb, like none of this is real. Other times, I'm so angry I want to scream. How could she do this to me? To us? We had our problems, sure, but I never in a million years thought she'd cheat. And not just once, this was an ongoing thing, behind my back, right in our home. I know I need to confront her at some point. We'll have to talk about the house, the bills, all the crap that comes with the end of a marriage. But I'm not ready for that yet. Not ready to face her lies head-on. How do you even begin to recover from something like this? I feel like a shell of the person I used to be. It's like she took everything I thought I knew about our relationship and smashed it to pieces. I know the obvious answer is divorce, but a part of me still feels paralyzed, like I'm in shock and can't make any decisions right now. After a few days of hiding out at Mark's place, I finally turned my phone back on. I'd been avoiding it, ignoring Laura's texts and calls, trying to block out the mess I'd left behind. But when I finally checked my messages, there was one from my neighbor, Tom, the guy who lives directly across the street from us. Tom's a good guy, keeps to himself mostly, but we've always exchanged pleasantries when we see each other. He knows about Laura and me, of course, hard not to, given how close our houses are. He must have noticed I hadn't been around for a while. The message wasn't long, but it made my heart race. Evan, I know what happened with Laura, and I'm really sorry, man. But I think there's something you need to see. If you're up for it, swing by whenever. I'm around all day. My stomach churned. What could he possibly want to show me? I'd already seen more than enough. I wasn't sure I could handle any more bad news. But something inside me, curiosity, or maybe desperation, made me get into the car and head over to his place. When I pulled into Tom's driveway, he was already standing outside, waiting for me. He looked serious, almost uncomfortable, like he didn't really want to be the bearer of whatever this news was. I got out of the car, feeling the weight of dread settle over me. "Hey, Tom. What's going on?" I asked, trying to sound casual even though my insides were twisted in knots. He scratched the back of his neck, then gestured toward his house. "Come inside, man. It's easier to just show you." I followed him into his living room, where he had his laptop set up on the coffee table. My heart started pounding harder. This felt way too familiar, like the start of something I wasn't going to like. Tom sat down, opened his laptop, and clicked on a video file. "Look, Evan," he said quietly. "I've been meaning to tell you this for a while, but I didn't know how. I've got cameras set up outside, you know, for security. And, well, I caught some things you might want to see. I stared at the screen as the video started playing. It was footage from his front porch, aimed directly at my house. At first, nothing seemed unusual, just a regular view of the street, my driveway, our front door. But then I saw it. The delivery guy. James. Walking up to my front door. My blood ran cold as the video continued. Laura opened the door, smiling at him like she always did, and let him inside. I watched in stunned silence as they disappeared into the house, the door closing behind them. Tom paused the video and looked at me, his face serious. That's not the first time. This was about a week ago, but it's been happening for months, Evan. I didn't think it was my place to say anything, but after you left, I figured, you should know. I felt like the room was spinning. Months. This wasn't some one-off mistake, some moment of weakness. This had been going on for months, right under my nose. And Tom, he'd been watching it happen, probably struggling with whether to tell me. Do you have more of this? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Tom nodded, grimly. Yeah. There's more. He clicked on another video file, and it was the same thing. James showing up, Laura letting him in, the two of them vanishing inside the house. Sometimes it was midday, sometimes in the evening, but the pattern was clear. Every time I wasn't home, she was inviting him over. By the time the third video started playing, I had to look away. I couldn't take it anymore. The betrayal felt so much deeper now, like I'd been living in a nightmare for months without even realizing it. I stood up, pacing the room. Why the hell didn't you tell me, Tom? I snapped, the anger bubbling up. You watched this happen and didn't say anything? He looked genuinely sorry, holding his hands up. I didn't know, man. I didn't want to get involved. I wasn't sure if it was something more innocent at first. I just figured, hell, I don't know what I figured. But once I saw it happening over and over, I knew something was wrong. I sank back down onto the couch, my head in my hands. It was all too much. The lies, the secrets, the months of deceit. I felt like an idiot for not seeing it sooner. I had been so focused on trusting her, on giving her the benefit of the doubt, that I'd missed all the glaring signs right in front of me. Tom cleared his throat. Look, Evan, I don't want to make this worse, but, you should probably take these videos. You might need them, you know, for, whatever comes next. I nodded numbly. He was right. This wasn't just about Laura's betrayal anymore, this was about moving forward, about protecting myself from whatever mess was coming next. Divorce. Lawyers. The whole nightmare. I took a deep breath and accepted the flash drive Tom handed me, the one with all the footage. Thanks, man, I muttered, though I didn't feel thankful. I felt sick. When I got back to the car, I just sat there for a while, gripping the steering wheel, trying to calm the storm raging inside me. Tom's words kept echoing in my head, months. This wasn't a mistake. This was a goddamn routine. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do next, but one thing was clear, there was no going back from this. Laura hadn't just cheated. She had built an entire web of lies, and now, with these videos, the whole thing was crashing down. I didn't even know if I wanted to confront her anymore. What was the point? She'd already shown me who she was. Now it was up to me to figure out who I was going to be without her. After leaving Tom's place, I headed back to Mark's house, the weight of that flash drive burning in my pocket. My mind was a swirling mess, months of lies, multiple videos of Laura betraying me in our own home, and now. I couldn't even wrap my head around what I'd seen. Once I got back, I sat on the bed in the guest room, staring at my laptop. I knew I needed to look through everything Tom had given me, even though the thought made me sick. But if I was going to move forward, if I was going to divorce her, I needed all the evidence. So, I plugged in the flash drive and opened the folder of videos. I'd already seen the ones Tom showed me, the delivery guy, James, coming over repeatedly. But as I scrolled through the files, I noticed one I hadn't seen before. It was longer than the others, and for some reason, Tom hadn't mentioned it. Maybe he'd forgotten about it, or maybe he didn't realize how important it was. But now, it was staring me in the face, daring me to open it. My heart pounded as I clicked on the file. At first, it looked like the same pattern, my driveway, my front door, another delivery. But this time, it wasn't just James. It was a different guy. And then another. And another. A total of 3 different delivery men, all on separate days, all being invited into my house by Laura. I watched in disbelief as each one followed the same routine: arrive, get let inside, and stay for longer than any delivery should take. I felt my chest tighten as the truth settled in. It wasn't just James. It was multiple couriers. Multiple men coming to my home, while I was away, believing they were simply delivering food. And Laura? She wasn't just cheating on me with one man. She was sleeping with whoever happened to be delivering that day. My hands shook as I fast-forwarded through the video, confirming what I already knew in my gut. This wasn't a relationship she had with one guy. This was something else entirely, something that made my stomach turn. But then, as I neared the end of the video, something caught my attention. James showed up again. Only this time, it wasn't just a quick visit. He was in our house for over an hour. The way he looked at her, the way she smiled at him, it was different. Softer. Like they were in some kind of relationship. I paused the video and just stared at the screen. Could it be that James thought this was something more serious? That he believed Laura actually cared about him? That she was lying to him, too? I couldn't stop myself. I needed to find him. I needed to show him this video, to make him see that he wasn't the only one. I didn't know why, but a part of me felt like he deserved to know the truth, just like I did. Maybe it was anger, maybe it was the need for some kind of justice. Maybe I just wanted someone else to hurt the way I was hurting. I spent the next few hours tracking down where James worked. It wasn't hard, he was one of the regulars for the delivery service we used, and after making a few calls, I found out which location he worked from. The next day, I drove down to the delivery hub. My hands were sweaty on the steering wheel, my mind racing with what I was about to do. This was crazy, right? I was about to confront the guy who had been my wife, and for some reason, I felt like he was the one who needed to hear the truth. I waited outside the building until I saw him, James. He was loading up his car, getting ready for another day of deliveries. I got out of my car and walked over to him, my heart pounding in my chest. "Hey," I called out. He turned around, looking confused. "Can I help you?" "You're James, right? You've been delivering to my house, for a while now." His face froze, and I could see the recognition in his eyes. He knew who I was. And he knew why I was there. "Look, man," he started, raising his hands defensively. "I don't want any trouble. I'm not here to start anything," I cut him off, my voice shaking slightly. "I just need you to see something. It's important." He hesitated, glancing around like he might bolt. But eventually, he nodded and gestured toward the back of the lot. "All right. What is it?" I pulled out my phone and opened the video I'd found on the flash drive. The one with all the different couriers. I held it out to him, my hands trembling slightly as I hit play. At first, he looked confused. But as the video played on, his expression changed. I watched as the realization hit him, watched as he saw that he wasn't the only one Laura had been with. His face paled, and by the time the video finished, he was staring at the screen in disbelief. "Wait, what the hell is this?" His voice was shaky now, his earlier confidence gone. "You're saying she, with all these guys?" I nodded, my throat tight. I'm sorry, man. But yeah. It wasn't just you. He ran a hand through his hair, looking like he'd just been punched in the gut. She told me we were serious. That she was going to leave you. I laughed bitterly. Yeah, she told me a lot of things too. But it looks like she's been lying to both of us. For a few moments, we just stood there, both of us absorbing the reality of what had happened. I could see the hurt in his eyes, the same kind of pain I'd been living with for the past few days. She made me believe, he trailed off, shaking his head. I thought we had something real. I shrugged, my own heart still aching. I thought we did too. There was a long, awkward silence before James finally spoke again, his voice low. So, what now? You planning to? I don't know, confront her. I already did, I said. But it doesn't change anything. I'm done with her. I just figured you should know the truth before she dragged you into more of her lies. He nodded slowly, still staring at the ground. Thanks. I guess. For telling me. I wasn't sure what else to say. Part of me felt weirdly satisfied that he knew, but another part of me just felt empty. Like nothing I did would ever make up for what Laura had done. As I turned to leave, he called out one last time. Hey, man. I didn't know. About the other guys. If I had. I wouldn't have. I stopped, nodding without turning around. I know. It's not your fault. And with that, I walked away, feeling the weight of the entire situation pressing down on me. I didn't know what came next. All I knew was that Laura's lies had torn apart more than just our marriage. Now it was time to figure out how to pick up the pieces. After showing James the video, something snapped inside me. The betrayal, the lies, the humiliation, I couldn't take it anymore. I'd spent too much time trying to process what Laura had done, trying to figure out how to move forward, but I finally realized something: I didn't need to make sense of it. I didn't need closure or explanations. What I needed was to get her the hell out of my life. On the way back from seeing James, I made a decision. This was the last time she'd have any power over me. I wasn't going to let her lies fester in my home anymore. That house. It was mine now. She didn't deserve a single inch of it. So, I went straight home, grabbed a few garbage bags, and started throwing all of her stuff out. Clothes, shoes, makeup, anything that reminded me of her. I didn't care. I threw it all out the front door, dumping it in the yard like the trash it had become to me. It was therapeutic in a way, watching everything that used to belong to her scatter across the lawn. I wasn't just cleaning out the house, I was cleaning out my soul. As I worked, I muttered under my breath, the word "whore" slipping out more times than I care to admit. I didn't even care who heard. The neighbors might be watching, but at that moment, nothing mattered except getting her out of my life. Once I had everything outside, I slammed the door shut and stood there, breathing heavily, feeling the weight of everything lift off my shoulders. The next step was easy. I called a locksmith, had the locks changed, and made damn sure that when she came back, there was no way in hell she was getting inside. I was still shaking with anger when the locksmith handed me the new keys. He didn't ask any questions, just gave me a look that told me he'd seen this kind of thing before. Thanks, I muttered, pocketing the keys as I stared at the empty house behind me. It felt different now, cleaner. Like it was finally mine again. A few hours later, I was standing at the window when I saw her car pull up. Laura. My soon-to-be ex-wife. She had no idea what she was about to walk into. I watched as she stepped out of the car, her face immediately twisting in confusion when she saw the pile of her belongings scattered across the front yard. She stood there for a moment, staring at her clothes, her shoes, all of it just dumped on the grass. I could see the panic start to creep into her expression. She rushed up to the door, trying the handle. Locked. She knocked, calling my name in that soft, pleading voice she used to use when she wanted to sweet-talk me. But this time, it wasn't going to work. I opened the door just enough for her to see me, the new lock glinting on the handle. Her eyes widened as she realized what I'd done. "Evan, what the hell is this?" she stammered, her voice trembling. "What does it look like?" I spat, stepping out onto the porch. "It's your stuff, Laura. All of it. Out here, where it belongs. You're not coming back into this house. Ever." Her face crumpled, and she reached out toward me, like she could fix this somehow. "Evan, please, this is crazy. Let's just talk, okay? We can work through this." I let out a bitter laugh. "Work through what, exactly? The fact that you've been multiple delivery guys behind my back? Or how you made me believe we still had a marriage while you were spreading your legs for half the city?" Her face flushed red, and I could see the anger rising in her now. "It wasn't like that. It was a mistake, I told you. A mistake." I cut her off, my voice rising. "One mistake, maybe. But you didn't make just one mistake, did you? You made multiple, with multiple guys. Don't stand here and act like you're innocent." She was silent, her eyes darting between me and the scattered mess of her life on the lawn. "Evan, I'm sorry. Don't." I raised a hand, stopping her. "It's too late for apologies. You think you can just waltz back in here like nothing happened? No, Laura. You're done here. My lawyer confirmed it. You've been deprived of all your property rights. The house? It's mine. Everything inside it? Mine." Her eyes filled with tears, and for a split second, I saw a flash of the woman I used to love. But that woman was gone, replaced by a liar who thought she could have her cake and eat it too. "You can't do this," she whispered, shaking her head. "You can't just throw me out like this. I have nowhere to go." I felt a surge of satisfaction at her words, but it was tinged with bitterness. "You made your bed, Laura. Go live with one of your little boyfriends. Or maybe you can crash with James, you seemed pretty cozy with him." She looked completely lost, standing there in the driveway with her life literally strewn across the lawn. "Evan, please," she tried again, her voice cracking. I love you. We can fix this." "No, we can't," I said, my voice hard as steel. "Not anymore. You're a Laura. That's what you are now. Go live wherever the hell you want, but you're not living here. Now get lost." With that, I turned and slammed the door, the sound echoing in the empty house. I stood there for a moment, breathing hard, listening to the silence that followed. I didn't care what she did next. I didn't care if she cried or yelled or stormed off. She wasn't my problem anymore. Later, I looked out the window to see her still standing by her car, staring at her things as if she didn't know what to do. Eventually, she started picking through the pile, stuffing her clothes and shoes into bags. She looked broken, completely defeated, but there was no pity left in me for her. She did this to herself. As she drove away, I felt an overwhelming sense of finality. It was done. She was out of my life. The lies, the betrayal, all of it was behind me now. There was no more wondering, no more doubts, no more looking for answers. Laura was gone. And with her, all the pain she brought with her. Now, it was time to start over. Without her. It's been a couple of weeks since I threw Laura out, and honestly, I'm surprised by how quickly I've started to feel like myself again. I thought this would destroy me, thought I'd be drowning in the pain of it all, unable to move on. But here I am, standing stronger than I ever thought possible. Maybe it's because, deep down, I knew our marriage had been rotting for a while, even if I refused to see it. Maybe it's because letting go of her lies felt like finally cutting off a weight that had been dragging me down for years. Whatever the reason, I'm realizing now that I'm tougher than I gave myself credit for. I've overcome the collapse of everything I thought I knew, and in just a few short weeks, I've started building a new life, one that's mine alone, free of her betrayal.